Hi, everybody. Welcome to Connect and Grow podcast with myself, Jackie Grant. And today we have the amazing Justin Lodge. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Jackie. It's lovely to be here.
Great to have you. So, I've known Justin, how long? It's been a few years now, isn't it? Like, time
It
always
has. We
flies.
started writing books together a while ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's at least a couple of years. Yeah,
Yes. And we're still writing books. So awesome.
we are.
And we've both quite a journey of the last few months as well, just as we were just chatting before we started the recording. And you may be watching this on YouTube or you may be listening to this on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, you can go check out the actual video on YouTube. And all the links are in the description. But so I think both of us have been going through a bit of a journey of transformation. And I think that a big part of that is as we transform and transition as people, I think we start to attract a different clientele. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yeah, that's true. Very much true.
Yeah.
I mean, the journey of transformation I've been going through is really a physical one around my heart, but also it's been an energetic and a spiritual one. And
Mm.
it's really interesting as I have come to grips with the journey through my own health and well-being and putting that back on the right track, then the clients that I've attracted have shifted slightly. And
Mm.
so the clients, when I first started my work together, my clients kind of were attracted to me to meet me where I was at the time. And
Mm.
when I first started to write my latest book, Making Darkness Visible, when
Yeah.
I first started to write that book, I had just finished three previous books, and each one of those had dealt with the drama triangle. And so
Mm.
the drama triangle has the points of the aggressor, it has the
Mhm.
points of the savior, and has the points of the
Mhm.
victim. And so
Right.
as I wrote those first three books, I was clearing my way through that bit of drama. And so, as I began to work and write, making darkness visible, my clients were
Mm.
coming out of the drama like me.
Yes.
But now the clients I'm attracting, having done the integration work, having really stepped in to be able to receive love from myself, then my clients are coming in as much more an expression of love for themselves than they are
Mm.
coming in from a recovering from drama of some description.
Mm.
So that's been
And
a beautiful journey this year.
that is
Sorry.
awesome. And no, you're fine. I just get excited. And how does that make you feel seeing that as your, I mean, because you went on the journey purely like for your health, like it was all purely driven for you to stay alive, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then out of that has birthed this new clientele that you're attracting, but yet the book is still the same book.
Yeah. That's true. Very true. Um, and but the when you go and look at the book and you look at what's written in there
Mm.
and you look at it from the perspective of love, then you go, well,
Mm.
actually, what my clients did was love themselves to the point where they could then elevate themselves to the next level. And what I mean by
Mm.
that is that they integrated some of the drama that they needed to learn from. Um,
Mm.
and that's the real key to making darkness visible is the gold that we are seeking is hidden in dark caves within ourselves, right? It's areas where
Mm.
we don't necessarily ever want to go because we suffered some kind of loss, we suffered from some kind of challenge, and we kind of put those feelings away in a dark cave and lock them up and don't want to look at them. And so
Mm.
part of the work that I do with my clients is a gentle awakening to those emotions and to unblock those emotions and allow them to be integrated. Because
Mm.
negative emotions are actually really powerful for us. When we powerfully feel annoyed, when we powerfully
Mm.
hate, when we powerfully don't like something and we're really distressed for some reason, the
Mm.
energy of that is actually useful. Now, it's not something we want to bottle up and get rid of. It's something that we want to use. It's because it
Right.
drives us forward. And so
Okay.
feeling into those emotions and allowing them to flow and bottling them, looking in those caves where we've hidden away that stuff that we really did not want to talk about or think about,
Mm,
actually gives us the ability to heal. And it's the healing process of self-love. And so
mm,
as I have healed over the last year, it's been a year's journey. It'll be a year at the end of next month.
wow.
It's a year's journey on learning to love myself. Right?
Mm,
That's the journey I've been on over the past year. Then when I had my health problems, the health problems were a manifestation of me not understanding how to receive love from myself. Because
mm,
biggest challenge as children is that if you get brought up in a household where you're scolded all the time, and let's face it, many of us do, our parents are really
mm,
trying to protect us. And in order to
mm,
do that, they set boundaries, and sometimes they set those boundaries really hard with scolding. And my entire
yeah,
childhood was one of scolding. And I'm not alone in that. But the issue
mm,
is that when you scold a child, the child doesn't stop loving the parent, but they stop loving
mm,
themselves. They judge themselves to be wrong.
mm,
And some of us will sit
yeah,
there in that self-judgment for more than 50
mm,
years, like I did, right?
mm,
And so
uh-huh,
when you get to that point where you really you've looked into these different pieces of darkness within us, and you've absorbed the integration of the grief, of the anger, of the victimhood, of
mm,
the of trying to step into the savior because nobody came to save you, because it's
mm,
that particular archetype of savior is a very
mm.
powerful one, and the reason we love being saviors is because we get to be right. Because if you're trying to save
Oh,
somebody else, you'll never be
yeah,
wrong,
this is
and then
true.
it's an addiction, right? And so
Mm,
in order to get away from the victimhood and get away from the anger and the aggression, we we
mm,
we we automatically assume savior, because then we get to be right. But that
mm.
also gives us the justification to also be able to be angry, because when somebody makes us wrong, we feel justified in being angry with them. And so
Wow.
that's this part of the drama triangle, that we bounce between these points of the triangle, right? We bounce
Mm,
between the anger, the victimhood, and and the savior. And the savior is a great
mm,
place to stand, but again,
mm,
it's still part of the drama. And so that's what my clients get from making darkness visible. They get to integrate that
mm,
drama that they've been hiding away inside themselves for years and years and years. And
mm,
but where does that give them? Well, it gives them freedom. That, at the very
mm.
essence of this, it gets them to step into freedom. Why is it freedom? Well, in order to actually make room for something new, you need to clear the space.
Mm. Oh, I've been going through that.
And that's what it's
Well,
about. It's about making room. If you're full up with repressed emotions of stuff that you never want to think about again, you've got no room to
mm,
grow. And that
mm,
really fits in with this connect and grow theme that you run your magazine on. Connecting to
yeah,
yourself, integrating some of those negative emotions, using the power of the passion that's there, clears that
mm,
space and allows for that growth that you talk about. So that's what
mm,
I do.
mm.
That's why I wrote that book.
Yeah, love it. I love it. And that's what recently, so and just touching on the magazine for a second,
Mm.
recently, so we've had themes every month. And then recently I just said to the writers, because we've got 5 now, I went, go, 3. We're only gonna have certain themes throughout the year. Whatever you like, your article doesn't need to match the feature article. It doesn't need to match everyone else's. If you wanna write about something, then do it. Because last month the latest edition, they all came back to me and went, "I really struggled, like, I was really pushed, I was really challenged." And I went, "Okay, that's good, but I don't want you feeling like this is a chore." So in us giving them the freedom, if they wanna talk about a challenge or that darkness, as you've said,
Mm.
because that's real, right? Like, we wanna keep it real. So, how so talk through the client's journey? Like they come to you, they've maybe read
Yes.
your book or they've heard about you, but
Mhm.
like, do you have like a program that takes a number of weeks, or is it flexibility?
Yes.
Like what's the client journey like?
So my clients, when they first come to me, are typically they that in the past, recently that's changed. It's wonderful, but they've come to me with a real challenge in terms of their growth. They know they
Mm,
want to grow, but they feel really stuck. So one of my clients, Liz, she was, I think she was about 4 weeks away from giving birth when she first started to work with me.
mm,
She had had a terrible relationship with the father of the child. That had all gone horribly wrong, and then she found herself pregnant.
mm,
And so she decided to follow through with the pregnancy, and again that was a huge decision for her. And she knew that becoming a new mum was going to be a heck of a challenge for her.
mm,
She had great support from her mom and her grandmother. Their family was an immigrant family, refugees from let's not go into the country or anything, but
yeah,
they had come through some real difficult hardships as a family together, and so she knew she got support from them, but she also knew that they were completely outside of her control, and she knew that
right,
the thought of having a mum and a grandmother supporting her was good on one hand. On the other hand, it filled her with real trepidation. She had no idea how this was going to go, and she knew that the answers were within herself. So
mm,
she chose to work with me, and what the program's called was Ready to Rise. And I'm
yeah,
thinking about changing the name of the program, but actually, no, I'm not going to do that. And so my
mm,
first program is called Ready to Rise. And what it is a 7 week program. And typically
yeah,
I tack on a couple of weeks at the beginning and the end, beginning to actually get people introduced. And then we do the seven
mm,
weeks and then we do kind of a closure. And so when we open that particular program, we set the intent. And so what
mm,
this client set the intent was that she really wanted to learn and grow herself. And she really
mm,
wanted to understand more about what who she was being in this new role of motherhood. And the
mm,
reason she'd come to me is because we had built a relationship of trust. We'd known each other for a while.
mm,
And we'd done several programs together. And I said to her, well, we'll do a number of exercises together, and then we'll see how we feel about it. And that's how we got to know each other. So we did a little bit of
mm,
work together, and she decided, yes, she wanted to work with me. And so that's really important to me. It's really important to build that relationship of trust. Um, and I really want to talk about that because um, you see a lot of this direct marketing that expects people to buy immediately. I
mm,
can't deal with that. I have to build a
mm,
relationship. There has to be some
mm,
level of wanting to build trust and intimacy before I'll
mm,
take a client on, because it's important for me as
mm,
much as it's important for the client. And so that's how I work. So Liz had
mhm,
chosen to work with me, and then we started the 7 week program. And in the 7 week program, what we do is we use spiral dynamics as a model to
mm,
work through different
yep,
levels of emotion. And
okay,
if you go and check any kind of book on emotional scales, the emotional
mm,
scales start low and they
mm,
go up high. And so
mm,
when you look at the work by Dr. Claire Graves, who wrote Spiral Dynamics, the
mm,
base levels are levels about survival. So in that first week, we clear guilt and dogma and shame, right? And
right,
so we clear those base emotions. Those are very low feeling emotions. And so
mm,
we clear those first, then we move up to the next level. Level 2 in spiral
mm,
dynamics is about connectedness into your family, into your tribe. And so then we
mm,
clear the emotions that often motivate us. And again,
mm,
because it's low down in the scale, we're clearing
mm,
fear, we're clearing
mm,
paralyzed will. And so
mm,
as we begin to move up the scale of spiral dynamics, then we're clearing more and more things. So level 3 is about your own internal power. So we clear the emotional blockages to power. And so how do I do that clearing? Well, we do that clearing by looking at what are the events in someone's past which cause those blockages. And so where does that come from? That comes from NLP that was invented in the 1970s. And you go back on your timeline, and we go back onto the timeline to find the events. And so as a practitioner of emotional clearing, what I do is I'm connecting with the client, and we go looking for the emotions that are connected with shame or with guilt. And typically what we do is we find those events. Now, sometimes you don't remember because you were too young, you don't remember what those things are about. And that doesn't matter. What we need to be able to do is tap into the emotions. And what we do is we're looking for where people feel the emotions in their body, because this is an embodiment thing. It isn't a mental thing. We don't need to know what happened. The story itself, in some cases, the story is really important to my clients. And so we talk through that story in detail because they need to feel through that. But in some cases, they have no idea what happened. All they know is that when I say guilt, for example, where do you feel guilt in your body? And you might say, well, I don't know when that happened. So we test it and we find out, when was that, right? And I use muscle testing to find out at what age did they feel that guilt. So using that muscle testing, then we go, okay, this age, and my client might go, oh yes, this happened. And then we talk through that piece. And in some cases, the client might go, oh, well, I really don't want to talk about what happened. That's okay too. If you don't remember it, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. If you do, and a lot of clients do, because it's really healing for them to work through what happened and then stand back from the perspective of the adult and go, that's what I was supposed to learn. And that's that integration process. The integration process of feeling into that and then letting that feeling go. That's the power of the integration. That's where we get to let that energy go. And we get to, as we letting that energy go, we get the lessons. And we get the pieces that fall into place is, that's what I was supposed to learn, is typically what happens. So with my client Liz, she came along, we worked together, and this story's in my book. And she gave birth in the middle of the process, right? And once she'd had a couple of weeks off, we restarted the process. And what did she get? What she got is the ability to be able to ask her mum and her grandmother for what she wanted. Previously, they would, this was their experience, right? They were doing what was best for baby, right? It was driving Liz insane because they didn't consult her. They just go, well, this is best for the baby. And, they were doing the savior thing. We talked about the drama triangle. They were doing the savior thing. And Liz's previous relationship with her mum and her grandmother would be, she'd get to that point of frustration, then she would lose her shit big time with them, right? And then there'd be this big drama and lots of shouting and all the other stuff that goes off in families, right? But in this process, she'd learned to love herself, right? And she'd learned to heal herself. So she'd actually learned to be able to, put boundaries in and go, I'm sorry, you need to tell me what you're doing before you do it. You need to consult with me. And here's what works for me and here's what doesn't. And prior to that, that sounds really simple, right? Prior to that, she couldn't have those conversations with them, right? What she found in being able to listen to herself is that her mum and her grandmother would listen to her. That was it. That's what she got. And so within the 6 months after Liam was born, the 6 months that she had, because she's an entrepreneur, she's running 3 businesses, she's having a baby, and she's got a mum and grandmother living with her to help her support with the baby, right? As you can imagine, that's a lot going on. But she managed to successfully negotiate peace within her family. So then she got more peace within her business, because having done that integration with her family and had got her mum and her grandmother on side, then she found it really a lot more powerful, because she's still running these businesses. So 6 months after Liam was born, she went on a world tour. and she took
Right.
Liam with her as a single mom. And
Okay.
she had a nanny from time to time. She didn't do this by herself. She contracted in help. But in some cases, she flew to a country not knowing what she would do in order to get the support she needed for Leon. Right. And, and because she was so good at negotiating relationships now, she automatically got help everywhere she went. Right. She had people on the plane holding Leon while she got some sleep. She got all these different people pulling
Yeah.
together. She became this magnetic personality to bring in the help and support she needed. Right. And so she spent 6 months traveling around the world with a 6-month-old baby. And just as Liam became 1 year old, and she's still running 3 businesses back in Australia remotely from wherever she was on the planet,
Wow.
still successfully being a really amazing entrepreneurial businesswoman. And when she got back, she ran a conscious leaders program, and I went to speak at. And so, it's an amazing piece where, we collaborated and we had a really wonderful time. And so she completely turned her life around in terms of being able to negotiate peace with everybody she needed to. And she's an
Yeah.
amazing entrepreneurial spirit. And because she's had to have been, that's part of her family DNA, if you like, right?
Yeah.
And that it was such a successful result, right? All
Love it.
from working with me. And so that's really what my clients do is that they become much more magnetic in how that they communicate with themselves, and then that
Yes.
reflects onto their lives around them, and not just in business but personally, in their intimate spaces with their mom and their grandmother. She was having this really amazing new level of communication and love with them. So that's what I bring.
Sign me up.
Okay,
No,
when would you like to start,
I,
Jackie?
um, yeah, I love it. I love, um, the combination of modalities at the right time.
Thank you.
Yes. Like I've studied NLP and the timeline, and it's funny because I'd
Mm,
actually forgotten about the timeline until you started saying stuff. And I
mm,
love how, and also to what I was feeling as you were sharing Liz's story is, and also what you do with like the work that you do, the transformation with the client, is you're also
mm.
working up through the chakras as well, like that
Yes.
lower energy. Yeah, because
Mm,
if you are familiar with the chakra, like listeners are familiar with the chakras, that lower energy, and I love the whole, where are you feeling it in your body? Like that's something that I use with my clients as well. I don't do muscle
mm,
testing as such, because a lot of people that come to me are neurodivergent. So sometimes to tap it out, like just on our hand, to just get you know, is this right? Like, is this, and just trusting that, because
mhm.
especially being neurodivergent, if we go into the why too much, we might not come back out. It's kind of like,
Mm.
it looking at like, it's like looking through a microscope sometime, or counting. I refer to it sometimes as counting grains of sand. We sit there and we might never stop, especially if we're counting those grains of sand
Yeah.
at the beach.
Yeah.
Everything.
Um, the neurodivergence is a spectrum.
Yeah.
I've worked in a technology career for years and years and years. I don't think I know anybody in technology that doesn't have an element of divergent behavior as part of their coping strategy with delivery in the technology world, right? And so, um, it's very easy to get stuck in that loop. I call it looping. My
Yeah.
daughter calls it looping. Um,
Yeah.
but it's really the piece that I love about the work that I do is it's a synthesis of
Mm.
different modalities. I learned NLP years
Mm.
and years and years ago, and it was
Mm.
all mental. Everything was about it was mental, except that when the processes came to work, they were in fact
Mm.
embodiment processes. The entire experience of a breakthrough in that NLP world was in fact a full embodied experience. Yet nobody
Mm.
talked about it very much because the geeking out was all on the mental processes, but the actual delivery was all embodiment. So as I've
Yes.
trained and learned and grown and done all the different training courses, the training course that I did brought all those modalities together. And because I'd
Yes.
already done lots of NLP, I automatically recognized the pieces of it.
Yes.
And so that's why this is much more powerful, because I do use the chakras. I do use the spiral dynamics map is just a map.
Yeah.
And one of the big things they say in NLP is the map is not the territory. Just because you can see it on a
I've heard
map does
that.
not mean, right, right. But that is the territory is the body. The territory is the
Yes.
body. And that's what I love about the work I do, and the muscle testing and the pieces of getting out of your head. Get into the
Yes.
body, feel that in your body.
Mm.
And this is why I talked about that hot yoga to begin with, because the entire idea of hot yoga just like fills me with horror. But I
Yes.
understand why it works, because somebody explained it to me. Does not mean I want to do it, but God, it's a really good idea to get somebody into embodiment, is to heat the bloody hell out of a room and then make them sit in it. I mean, I think it's self-torture. I'm not going to do it, but that
Good.
is the beauty. So I think that's why cold plunges work so well, right? It's because
Mm.
if we are stuck in a loop first thing in the morning because we've been awake worrying about something all night that we can't get out of our
Good.
heads, if you jump into a
Good.
cold plunge in the morning, or like
Good.
I do, I go out on a 75-minute walk in 33-degree, 100% humidity for 75 minutes. All you're focused on is
Yes.
breathing.
Mm.
And that is the
Right.
answer to not looping anymore. It allows that loop to break.
Mm. Mm. I love it. I love it. And
Mhm.
and I love the part that you talked about the creating space, because um I got into, especially, like, I've been fatigued a lot, so, and then just being neurodivergent, I can be fatigued just getting out of bed. Um but what had happened is that, I was kind of like running the business and trying to plan the next thing, and I would have piles of stuff everywhere, like a lot of people that have ADHD have piles of stuff. And a family member said to me, "Oh, I could help you with that, but as part of your ADHD, you like the chaos." And I went, "Oh God, no, I do not like chaos. My ADHD is variety, please, but my autism likes order. But how we get the two to work together, I struggle." So every room in my house would have these piles, and it wasn't because I didn't want to put anything away. I just didn't know where to put it because I had too much stuff. So the past couple of weeks, we've literally been cleansing out the house, and I have all this space, but I will say that on, I think it was Monday, I had a bit of a meltdown after it. It was a bit traumatic to suddenly be getting almost to the last room. Well, we've got 2 more rooms to do, but they're really tidy, like, it's just surface stuff. But nothing special happened on that day, but there was I felt traumatized by letting go of all this stuff. Like, I started to go back into my safety mode. But I went, "You know what? Sit in your trauma, feel it, acknowledge it. Like, say it aloud." I even said to a friend, they said, "How are you
Mhm.
going? Should I be worried about you?" I went, "I know I'm just going through a bit of a trauma with this clean out." But then the next day, I was feeling a bit better with it, because I
Mhm.
allowed myself to
Yes.
literally, figuratively, emotionally sit in it and own it.
Mhm. Yes.
And
That,
this
and
is
then
what
that
I'm
that
loving.
is absolutely the answer. It's not to ignore it. Just sit in it and allow it yourself to feel that emotion, and give yourself the grace to feel it. Don't bottle it
Mm,
away. Don't put it to one side. Allow it.
yeah, I love it. I love it. So if someone wants to work with you and dive straight into Ready to Rise program, obviously that's
Hmm.
not what's going to happen, but they might listen to this and go, "Oh, sign me up." And as you said,
Hmm.
you're going to want to get to know them a little bit, because I like to do that a little
Yes.
bit too with certain. especially if I'm
mm,
working one-to-one. If you're just doing my self-paced one, that's fine. But if you're going to work with me,
mm,
I actually like to get to
mm-hmm,
know you a little bit, because then I
mm-hmm.
know whether we're a right fit. So how can
Yes.
someone get in touch with you? We will put this information, but if you've got like the website or however, how would you like them to reach out to you initially?
So to get to know me, I mean, I use social media like lots of other people. So if you want to get to know me, go and look for me on Instagram. So I am Justin L67 on Instagram. Come Justin
Yeah,
Lodge. You'll find me on Instagram. I'm
yeah,
there, so you can actually see who I am, what I do,
mm,
and understand me a little bit. So that gives you kind of a flavor of my energy. So look at the recent stuff because that's my recent energy. Um,
no,
I don't post on there very often, but when I
no,
do, then you'll get a sense of who I'm being, right? And then reach out to me either through a direct message on Instagram or
yeah,
come to my website, justinlodge.com.
yeah,
Then you get a much better sense of who I am being.
yeah.
And so that is the website has got my client stories on it. It needs
Mhm.
a bit of a revamp, needs it's not a beautiful website by any imagination, but it's just there for people to
No,
get a sense of who I am. It's a little bit of a
yeah,
signboard. And being a little bit, neurodivergent myself, I've done way more on the website than I should have done. It should be a lot simpler than it is. But that's what happens when you get onto a project. You go, and so, um, have a look at that and then get in contact. Use the Instagram channel to get in contact with me. I think it's probably the easiest
yeah,
way. There is I mean, you can see where my office is on the website. There's contact and stuff.
mm,
I live in Singapore, so I'm 3 hours ahead of Australia at the moment. So
yeah,
we started this at 9 o'clock in the morning, your time, but it was 6 o'clock my time. So yeah, get in
good.
contact with me that way. And then we'll set up a call and we'll have a conversation and we'll talk about what it
Yeah,
is that you want to achieve and those pieces. And in that conversation, we'll get to know each other a bit. And that will then mean that both of us feel happy to go forward together. And then we can start the Ready to Rise program.
yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. And just as we wrap up, Making Darkness
Mm.
Visible, that's on Amazon too, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can buy my book. You can buy it on audiobooks as well. So
Mhm.
a lot of my friends have said, I never read a book. And I'm going, that's
Mm.
fine. You don't have to.
Oh,
You
cool.
can listen to it instead, right? And so
Yeah,
Making Darkness Visible it's on Amazon, but it's on Audible as well. But it's also
yeah,
on lots of other Audible channels. If you don't like buying from Amazon, because some people don't, then you can go to
cool.
lulu.com and find my books on there. You can go to
Yeah,
different audiobook channels. You'll
yeah,
find Making Darkness Visible by Justin Lodge on those
yeah,
channels as well. So
awesome. Perfect.
it's been
Yeah.
out there for a while, so it's made its way through all the different links to be available in different audiobook stores.
And sometimes especially when it's been out for a while, sometimes all you need to do is go to Google and type in the book
Mm,
title and the author, and you just get all the
mm,
options of where it is. I've sometimes done that with
yes.
my book. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that place existed, and look, my book is there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
pretty
I did that with the audiobook thing. I went, oh my gosh, my audiobook is on all of these different channels.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Justin,
And for the people that really, to the people that really like to geek out, there's a resources
yeah,
chapter in my book. And so all this stuff we've talked about Dr. Claire Graves and spiral dynamics, we talked about
good,
embodiment, we've talked about all
good,
these different things. All of
good.
that, I did a big resources chapter and I used Chat GPT to give me a hand as my research assistant. And
Right.
I really didn't enjoy it in some ways because I found that Chat GPT was hallucinating in places. It was making things up. So I had to go through that entire chapter and fact check every single thing it said. But so I'm now
Yeah,
really happy with the resources chapter. So if you're really into personal development, into spiral dynamics, into all these different things, I've got this
yeah.
really great resources chapter in the book, which gives you all the geeky background to all the stuff that I bring into my programs.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you said about Chat GTP because a lot of people go, "Oh, you should use AI and Chat GTP and all that." And I went, "You need to fact check it for starters, and secondly, you need to really just then run the plagiarism check over it as well because you can quite easily plagiarize." And a lot of people don't realize
Yeah.
that, but I do know because we are making the magazine. For those that subscribe to Connect and Grow magazine, you can get the audio version. And because my
Mm,
voice keeps going, I literally can't read now to record it. It just I lose my voice.
mm,
But I do have the ability because I use where we're recording this now and Riverside. It picks my voice and my tonality and where I emphasize things, so I can actually just give it the written document and it produces it as if it's my voice, which is, if I could read it, I would. But yeah, sometimes it's useful when it's contained, but it's always very
mm,
careful. But I love the
mm,
resources. I love that you're basically saying to people, this is what I use. But if you want to learn more about that, you can actually check it out for yourself to make that informed decision. So I love that. Thank you for that.
mm, mm. No, you're so
Yeah.
welcome. I mean, I, a friend of mine was reading my book on a beach in Bali the other day, and she opened it up to a chapter, and she said, "Oh, I remember when we did a training course and we learned that. I'd forgotten about that."
Yeah. Yeah. I was reminded of stuff today. Like, yeah, just I'm sitting here going, oh, I remember learning that like years ago at TCI.
Yeah.
Being in the room. Yeah. Just been great. Thank you so much for being part of the show today. Is there a parting message that you would like to give the listener?
Yes, it's the biggest breakthrough you can have is learn to love yourself, right? And learn to receive love from yourself. That is the biggest thing I've got in the past year, is that I had not relearned to receive love from myself. I was great to
Mm,
receive love from other people, but I hadn't
mm,
learned to receive it from myself. And that is what's caused my heart to open and grow this year. And so
mm.
that's my final message. Learn how to receive love from yourself.
Beautiful message. Well, on that note, we're just going to wrap this up. So, Justin, thank you again. Listeners, check out all the links that are in the description wherever you're listening or watching this. Thank you for your support. We just really appreciate it. Justin's book was in Book Corner in one of the magazines, but we'll probably bring it back either at the end of this
Thank
year
you.
or early next year. We'll bring it back in. And also, I've got some exciting news that I'm not quite ready to share with the listeners yet, but it's actually going to be part of the magazine to give you even more access to what we've published in the past with these. So, guys, thanks a lot. Until next time, thanks for being here.